I have a couple of theories to share today, and they're about the 16 personalities, about how much they occur in society, and also about how we inherit them. To start with, I want to say that, like in the mind of the INFJ, you have the INFJ in the conscious, you have the ESTP in the subconscious, you have the ENFP in the unconscious, and you have the ISTJ in the superego. So if you are looking at it that way, and all the other three that I just mentioned, those personalities have the other three, like somewhere in there. So all the ones in this group, 4 personalities, have the other 3 in their mind somewhere. So in this way, you can, divide the 16 personalities into 4 groups. And when you don't do that, and you look at the incidence of personalities, the commonly accepted one that you can find online easily, you see that there are like really huge differences. Like INFJs are 1.5% of the population, and then you have ISFJs that are 13.8. It's really a huge difference sometimes. And but I was wondering because like if you look at the group that I'm in, you have INFJs at 1.5%, and then you have ISTJs at 11.6%. And I was wondering, well, I wonder if that happens in all the groups, that you have one that's like not very much, and then you have another one that's a lot. And I was like, well, I wonder if you could kind of look at it as that there are 4 personalities, as these groups say that there are 4 personalities that each have 4 manifestations or like arrangements. And if you added up the percentages, if those would be more or less equal on the percentages. So, because some manifestations are necessary in a larger number in society of this personality, and some manifestations are not so necessary, but you have the personality, if you say 4, more or less equal. So I added up the percentages, and so when you have the INFJ, ESTP, ENFP, ISTJ, that's 25.5%. INFP, ESTJ, ISTP, and ENFJ are 21%. INTJ, ESFP, ENTP, ISFJ are 27.6%, and ISFP, ENTJ, ESFJ, and INTP are 26.2%. So those are pretty close. So who knows? Maybe my theory is right. I would give it maybe 50% chance. I don't know. Maybe there's some other factor, important, significant factor that I'm not aware of. But anyway, that's what you would expect to see if it was right. And so I went from there to wondering, well, I wonder if you can apply that to inheritance on the personalities. When you go to the forums and you'll look at people wondering how you inherit personalities, and then people will list what their type is and what their family's types are and that sort of thing, it seems pretty random. But I wondered, I wonder if this is. And of course, there is a little bit harder to prove something like this because, to anyone watching, of course, you don't know if I'm good at typing or not. So if I tell you about families that I know, you really have no way of knowing whether it's true or not. And in the same way, if I'm looking at all these people that are listing their type and their family's types, I would have to verify each and every person that posted, which is pretty impossible. So I really don't know how you would actually prove this theory. It would have to be someone in a sort of special circumstance that is both good at typing and has access to not only the types of the individuals and their families, but even the extended families, if you actually want to find out what's actually happening. But I will tell you, because I was thinking, well, it's worth investigating, because if even 50 or 60% of the people are right, then, or, there should be some kind of a pattern that's evident somewhere. So anyway, I put those, and I'm not sure about that. That's just kind of my guess. So I just went ahead and tried, and I will tell you what I found out combining that and some of the ones that I know, and also tell you some of the ones that I know specifically, because it's a pretty interesting pattern that I saw. So if you have a couple, the pair is just, they're either from one group or 2 groups, obviously, right? Then you have 3, they have a kid. So then at that point, it's normally from 2 groups. That's the most common, right? And then you have 2 kids. Still the most common is 2 groups, but it can be 3 groups. When you have 5, they have 3 kids. The most common is 3 groups. And I know a family that has 10 members. Now the parents are from 2 different groups. And in each of the parents' groups, there are a total of 4 members of the family. And then there's 2 other members in a 3rd group. And I also know a family that is has 18 members, and the two parents are from the same group. And in their group, in total, there are 10 members of the family. And then there are 3, 3, 2 in the other 3 groups. And let's say about my mom's family. My mom's family has her mom, my grandma, and an uncle of mine, all in the same group. And then there's my grandpa in another group and my uncle in another group. So there are 3 groups, right? My family has my dad, and he is from the most common group in his family. So there's me, my sister, and my dad in one group. There's my mom in another group, and there's my other sister in another group. Now my sister that is in the same group as me and my dad has married a guy that is in her group. And they have 2 kids, and those kids are from a different group. So you have the 2 group thing going there. And that group that her kids are from is the same group that my sister that's in the group by herself is from, and that my uncle that's in the group by himself is from. So there you have that. Obviously it's not a whole lot of data that I'm working with, a whole lot of information. But I think that at least there's a toenail in the door as far as it being in the realm of possibility, which is a really amazing thing for the amount of information that I have. I think it's a really interesting pattern. I really don't know how someone would be able to investigate more thoroughly to actually, say definitively whether it's that way or not. It has helped me a lot to type people, but of course, to the viewer, that's pretty much circular reasoning because you have no way of knowing whether I'm actually typing people correctly or not. I could just be finding what I'm expecting to see. I personally think that it is true, and I'll tell you why. I read the INFJs. We can see the conscious, subconscious, unconscious, and superego part of the brains of people all at the same time, and that's why I had a hard time typing ENFPs to begin with, because I could definitely see the INFJ there. I thought they were INFJs because I know it's inside, but then they were like expressing it. But anyway, I've been at like quite a few churches and seen quite a few families that way in my lifetime, and so this theory had to come from somewhere. And I'm thinking that NI is not conscious, and what's happening in INFJ's mind and all this stuff is not we're not aware of it. It's happening somewhere back there, and then our brain will come up with this aha moment about something, and we're not aware of where it came from, but it is based upon something concrete, but it's definitely an abstract form because it's not accessible to us. But I do have the feeling that there's enough, that I had observed enough to be able to say that more or less that's the pattern. But I really don't have proof of it. But it really is interesting, and if anybody else discovers anything about it, please let me know. I would find it very interesting.